Rosa DeLauro doesn't let Kash Patel off easy. In a tense exchange, the Congresswoman demands answers, pressing him again and again on how the FBI plans to operate with $500 million slashed from its budget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, you have previously stated that your #1 priority for the FBI is to end violent crime in the United States. The budget request slashes the FBI budget by more than $500 million, below the current level. It quite literally would defund law enforcement, including, it would appear, cutting a number of FBI intelligence analysts who work on critical national security issues. How is it possible to cut more than $500 million, or more than 5% below a hard freeze in the FBI's operating budget, without impacting the law enforcement and national security-related functions of the FBI? Please specify exactly which positions would be cut.
Ma'am, at this time, we have not looked at who to cut. We are focusing our energies on how not to have them cut by coming in here and highlighting to you that we can't do the mission on those 2011 budget levels. And so what we're focusing on is right now is working with our partners in OMB, the appropriators, to say that we cannot cover down on the mission at the levels that we would have to go to, which would be the 2011 levels, should all the budget cuts you just outlined be implemented.
So, but are you talking about coming up here with a budget request that restores the funding that has been cut, that it's a defunding law enforcement? You're talking about $500 million below the current level. How would you restructure the budget to get to what you need in order to be able to make sure that we are not defunding law enforcement and that we are not cutting the analysts that you need in order to be able to do your job and to be dealing with national security issues? I don't understand. You've got a budget request, $500 million less, and you're cutting people. You don't know who you're going to cut. You don't want. Tell us which it is. Are you going to restore that $500 million? You're going to request restoring that $500 million?
Well, as I said, I'm not the budget expert, but the budget request that we put in, the FBI, was $11.2 billion, I believe. And we are working through the appropriations process and the OMB process and the skinny budget that we've received to work with y'all to help us get to a number. And I believe if we got back the number you stated, we would not have to cut more FBI.
So
bills.
with a $500 million cut, more than 5% below the hard freeze of the FBI's operating budget, you believe that then this would not impact enforcement or national security-related functions? Then what are the positions, I'm going to ask the question again, what positions are you looking to cut? What is the cut for this $500 million? Now, apparently that $500 million, you're not in the budget department, but this is your budget. This is your budget. You have to have some idea of what you want to fund or not fund, or where you think you can cut or not cut, and provide that information to OMB. I'm unclear, and it seems to me that you are, as to what should be the budget of this agency, and if it's $500 million lower, what are the positions that you believe will have to be cut in order to reach the mandate that you are bringing forward to us in terms of your budget?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's the proposed budget, not by the FBI. The proposed budget that I put forward is to cover us for $11.1 billion, which would not have us cut any positions. The proposed budget.
So the skinny budget is we don't have, the skinny budget is wrong.
The skinny budget is a proposal, and I'm working through the appropriations process to explain why we need more than what has been proposed
So
in that budget.
what do you need? You need $11.2 billion?
Approximately.
Okay. Now, is that going to be delineated? I don't know what that means in terms of cuts that would be coming up to reach that goal. So there would be no additional positions deleted from the FBI if you get that amount of money.
That's correct.
And that's what we anticipate is coming in a budget that we anticipate at some point. We don't know when we're going to get it. even though we will be in markups by the time this effort is underway. But according to what we have received from the FBI, there are 904 positions that are currently slated for transfer from Washington, D.C. to field offices that are currently vacant. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is, what, is there any explanation of why these positions are moving to field offices? One of the things we can't seem to get answers to, and this is not you, is programs that are being deleted, programs that are being frozen, dollars are being frozen, programs that are being cut. We don't have any sense on this committee, which is the Appropriations Committee, and making a determination of what we should or shouldn't do, is any evaluation from any agency so far, and I ask this of you, what is the criteria? What are the programs that are going to be potentially left behind? What is the evaluation process here that says why these programs are no longer functional or not working? What is the story? Can we get from you when we're going to get some sort of an idea of what is a budget that you can deal with? Is what will be, what may be cut, what may not be cut, and why? What's the criteria by which that these programs would be, the evaluation is to transfer them out? Or why are these people going to field offices? Can we get that from you?
Yeah, I can give it to you right now, ma'am. The short answer as to why these folks are going to the field is because we are moving agents, intel analysts, and SOSs across the country into every state to get a hand-level grasp on violent crime in every single community. We're moving those folks out there.
Okay, but I will just wrap up, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. You need to provide for us, specify exactly which so-called, quote, overhead positions are being cut, and since other federal agencies are also proposing position cuts, how won't this cut inevitably reduce the FBI's intelligence analytic capabilities? We need to have that information before we can determine what the budget is.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yield back.
Mr. Klein.
Rosa DeLauro wasn't playing around. From the moment she began her questioning, you could sense her frustration building. She wasn't trying to score political points, she was demanding accountability. Sitting across from FBI Director Kash Patel, DeLauro pressed him repeatedly about a proposed $500 million cut to the Bureau's budget. Again and again, she asked one simple question: what exactly will be cut? And each time, Patel gave her the same kind of vague, bureaucratic answer that drives lawmakers and the public crazy. He said they were still working through the process, that they hadn't yet identified which positions would be eliminated, that it was all still under review. But DeLauro wasn't buying it. Her tone sharpened. "I'm going to ask the question again," she said, a phrase that landed like a gavel. Because this wasn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. DeLauro was exposing something bigger: how government agencies often come to Congress asking for money without clear answers about priorities. If the FBI is truly focused on reducing violent crime and protecting national security, how can it possibly operate under a budget slashed by more than 5%? And more importantly, how can its director not be ready to explain what that cut would mean for staffing, for intelligence analysis, and public safety? Patel tried to explain that the cuts didn't originate with him, that the FBI was still fighting to restore full funding through negotiations with the Office of Management and Budget. But DeLauro kept the pressure on, pointing out that until lawmakers receive specifics, they can't make informed decisions. Her insistence on transparency underscored the tension that defines so many congressional hearings today: the clash between political rhetoric about defunding and the practical reality of managing complex national security agencies. At one point, DeLauro highlighted a particularly revealing detail: The plan to transfer nearly 100 positions from D.C. headquarters to field offices across the country. On paper, that sounds like decentralization, getting agents closer to communities and crime scenes. But she wanted to know what that really means. Are those positions simply being moved, or are they being quietly cut? Are the people in those jobs being reassigned, or are they being replaced by fewer analysts doing more work? Those are the kinds of questions that determine whether the FBI is being strengthened or hollowed out. And this moment matters beyond just budget talk. It touches on the larger national debate over what law enforcement funding really means. For years, politicians on both sides have weaponized the term defund, either to attack opponents or to defend spending priorities. But when someone like DeLauro confronts an agency head directly, it cuts through the noise. It forces everyone to deal with the specifics. What programs will be protected? What missions will suffer? Where will the pain actually fall? The subtext here is that many federal agencies, including the FBI, are struggling to reconcile political narratives with operational reality. It's easy to say, "We support law enforcement." It's much harder to justify a budget that effectively does the opposite. DeLauro's questioning made that contradiction painfully visible. By the end of the exchange, Patel maintained that if the FBI received its full $11.2 billion request, no positions would need to be cut. But that reassurance didn't erase the uncertainty. The Congresswoman's persistence revealed how fragile the Bureau's planning has become, and how political battles over spending can have real-world consequences for national security, counterterrorism, and everyday policing. Moments like this remind us why oversight hearings matter. They may seem tedious, filled with bureaucratic jargon, but they expose whether leaders are truly prepared to defend their priorities or just hoping to coast through without answering tough questions. DeLauro's sharp, disciplined persistence showed what real accountability looks like. No theatrics, just focus and facts. And that's what's missing from so much of our political conversation today. Genuine inquiry. The willingness to sit in discomfort and demand clarity until the truth comes out. Because when $500 million of public safety funding is on the line, we're still figuring it out simply isn't good enough. For DeLauro, this wasn't about party or politics. It was about the basic expectation that public officials, no matter how powerful, owe the people they serve a straight answer. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to subscribe to Left Lens and hit the like button. It really helps us reach more viewers who care about transparency, accountability, and the truth behind the politics.